Well, first of all, thank you all so much for sharing your time with us. I'm your host, Carole Dean. I'm president of From the Heart Productions and the creator of the Roy Dean Film Grants. From the Heart is a 501c3 nonprofit supporting filmmakers. We offer fiscal sponsorship for all media projects. So this sponsorship gives you education and many other benefits. Most importantly, it allows your donors to get a tax deduction for giving you donations. And we have 4 Roy Dean Film Grants a year. And the next one is Spring, that closes March 31st, and it is now accepting applications. And then after that is the Short Film Grant that closes April 30th. And our website is loaded with tons of information from crowdfunding to goal setting. There's a filmmaker last week called me and said, I got on your website and I thought, oh, this is an outdated website. Well, yeah, it is. But anyway, he said, but when I started looking under resources and the blogs, and I found so much information for filmmakers. So he really enjoyed it. It ended up to be a compliment. So I'm just recommending that you check out all of those blogs and podcasts because Heather is helping me now on the podcast, and she's talking to award-winning filmmakers, which really, and they're sharing a lot of great information that can help you. So we created these classes and blogs to keep you updated with our ever-changing industry. And our class today is about goal setting and creating your future. So I'll cover the importance of goal setting for filmmakers and how important it is to recognize and use the power of your mind to produce and fund your film and achieve your goals. And Breianne will share with you more information about goal setting and using your mind to create your future. Our moderator and IT person is Naheed Ismail, and Naheed is a board member. He's an IT specialist. He lives in Kenya, and he has another exciting job. He takes people on safari. So Naheed, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Carole, and thanks everyone for joining our class today. Our outline for the class today is we have everybody muted, and we encourage you to put your questions in the chat bar. We want you to ask questions, so please put them all in the chat bar, and when Carole and Breianne are finished, I will ask these questions for you. I put some things Carole mentions in the chat bar and some links to information about this class. Also, this class is being recorded and you will get a copy of it mailed to you. It will be online at fromtheheartproductions.com under blogs. Look for everything you want to know about film funding link. Carole covers a lot of information, so you may need the recording and you will get it from us. I know many of you are film buffs, and to have some fun, Carole included 3 quotes from films you should recognize. Your job is to listen closely and identify these 3 films. Write the quote in the chat bar and give us either the name of the film or the actor who said them. For the right answer, you will get Carole's 3-hour How to Fund Your Film class that I know you will find helpful in film funding. Carole, I will turn this back to you now. Thank you.
Okay, Naheed, thanks. So let's talk about raising money for films through setting and achieving goals. So the question is, how powerful is your mind, right? Well, that's easy for me to answer because I talk to filmmakers every day and I get to watch you guys perform miracles. I also see filmmakers who are really worried and frightened about raising all the funds. And I can assure you that they're the ones that have the most difficulty, all right? It's your mind that's got to be on tune with you. You've got to have the confidence. But what is often the case is that filmmakers who say, I'm running a campaign for $50,000, then I'm going to get one of these grants and I'll have my funding. I love it. when the filmmakers are really positive about raising money. They are bringing it in, and the more positive you are, the better chance that you will get the funding. This is what I see happen, because these are the people who have unrelenting faith. They are the successful ones. They achieve because they believe they can. And it's the old Henry Ford statement from years ago. If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. You're in control. The purpose of the information today is twofold. First, to teach you how to write goals and share the knowledge that I've learned over 30 years of studying Dr. Chopra, Dean Radin, Len McTargett's great book, The Field, Wallace Wattles from back in 1905, and the best of all books, Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill. These books are all saying basically the same thing, and that's what we're going to share with you today. Manifesting or creating your film works on some things, and it doesn't work on other things. It doesn't work when you are 45 and you say, I'm 16 years old, because we all know you cannot reverse your age. And it's probably too late for anyone listening to become an astronaut, so I don't think that's going to happen. And more than likely, none of us are going to be on Elon Musk's next space trip. So to create your future for those things, I agree, is totally impossible. But what we want to cover today is what is possible and how to use science and personal experience to control things that we have control over. And that covers a lot of wonderful things that we can create for ourselves. So first, we want to get into goal setting by using all the techniques and guidance we've learned over the years. And I will give you that information, and then we'll go into creating your future. I'll explain how you can actively work to bring in the future you want. So what took me on this journey of the power of the mind? Well, when I first wrote my book, The Art of Film Funding, I was personally teaching at organizations across the United States. And I found that there were mostly two types of filmmakers in my class. Very seldom was there anybody in the middle. They were either positive they could raise the money, or they were afraid they couldn't. For this reason, I kept in touch with a lot of students to find out how they funded their films. And I also wrote the book on how to create your future, the art of manifesting, because I found filmmakers were great manifestors. For example, I want to share with you a story. I was teaching in Portland, and two young filmmakers came up to me after my discussion on film funding. And in that class, I put a great emphasis on the verbal pitch. So they introduced themselves and they began pitching me. And halfway through the pitch, I started to laugh because I thought they were teasing. I thought it was a joke, but no, I suddenly realized that they were serious. They were committed to going to Australia to study and film the mating habits of leeches. So you can see why I thought it was a joke. The thought of raising funds for such a narrow market film seemed really difficult to me. But no, these two filmmakers were totally committed, and they needed to raise a lot of money to get to Australia and make the film. I was so impressed with their attitude and their total faith in themselves that I said, I want to stay in touch with you. And so they said, sure, give us your address. And lo and behold, 6 months later, they sent me a postcard from Australia. They had raised the money and they were there shooting the film. I thought that was an incredible achievement, because I would say there are very few people interested in financing the mating habits of leeches. But believe me, if they can do it, you can too. So I think that faith funds films, because that's what I've seen and that's what I want to share. So I'll be quoting a lot of people today, starting with Dawson Church, who says that consciousness can be controlled and pointed in a desired direction to achieve your goal. He explained that we do this every day. This means to me that we can make a decision on what we want to achieve over the next 6 months. Once we have the visual and we can see exactly what our life would look like if the goal already existed, then we can go to work to bring it into this dimension. Because we want to send the universe a clear visual idea of our goal. Like you might get an invitation from someone who says, come up to the coast, we'll get together, we'll have a few laughs. Now, from the people we've studied, Wallace Wattles, Stuart Weil, Dean Radin, it all seems that they are saying the same thing, that we must focus on the completed goal as if it currently exists, and exists as if we are living a life with that goal already accomplished. This, they all tell us, is how we use our mind to create our future. So for this class, I want to suggest that you consider the following. First, decide what you want to achieve over the next 6 months, and then you make a to-do list to create it. So let's say your goal is to raise $30,000 over the next 6 months and find the right director and the right cinematographer. Then you might have a to-do list that outlines how you want to raise the $30,000. So perhaps this is a combination of grants and crowdfunding. If so, your to-do list would read like this: get on Candide.org, that is CANDID.org, and research the cost for 1 month, then find the date of the next training class. Because this is an excellent platform for grants in the United States. However, you have to pay Candide, so you may want to pay for a month and focus on researching during that month. But I suggest you take the class and start searching their site for grants. So you need to find the keywords for your film, as that's what you use to search for your grants. Take the class first and learn how to use the massive database, and then devote a month to researching your film and finding grants that match. Then you want to apply for the grants that your film fits. And if you're sponsored with From the Heart, we read your application for grants before you submit. That's one of the benefits. Now, From the Heart also has a list of grants under resources that you can check out. For crowdfunding, you may need to take your crowd to the crowdfunding party. So the first question is, how many emails do you have to work with? Do you need to expand your database? Is it big enough? Perhaps this becomes an action item. And then perhaps you believe that you can attach some corporate partners and you want to put your attention on this. That's very good right now. That's a great idea. A lot of films will fit partner funding. So that would mean that you would go to Keith Ashwad's company, showandtell.film, and consider joining and learning how to do it. And you may want to just start with reading peterbroderick.com, bulletins 37 and 39, so you understand how to find and attach corporate partners. It's the to-do list in conjunction with the conscious goals that bring success. So you might say, are you talking to me? You talking to me? The goal without the actions won't work. It's you who are the magician. You make the magic happen. It's your mind that creates the future. For example, in Mind Over Matter, Dawson Church tells us about curing mice of cancer. This research was done to determine if such a thing as focused healing works. And Dr. Bill Benstrom, PhD, set up a lab experiment to decide if he could make it work. He bought some mice and he separated them into 2 groups. They put one group of mice in a separate building so that the intentional healing would be distant from the other control group of mice. And both batches of mice were injected with cancer-causing material. And one group, nothing was done. They were fed, cared for, and all of them died of cancer. The second group of mice were given the same shot of cancer-causing material, and they held the mice daily inside their pen on the laps of a volunteer. They even made a choice to find a volunteer who was skeptical of distant healing. And this person would hold and talk to the mice, and they would focus on them being perfectly healthy for an hour a day. At the end of this experiment, the mice that were given the special treatment of intention and visualization were all cancer-free. It's an amazing achievement for these mice to override the chemicals inside their body, but the only difference between the two groups was that one group received healing intentions from a human being. So that tells us that we have a lot of power, and we can use this power to create. We can create our future, and that's what we want to do. Raising money for films is an important part of filmmaking, and I want each of you to understand the power of your mind for funding and creating your future. In his book, Mind to Matter, Dawson Church says, when you change your mind, you're sending new signals through the neural pathways of your brain, altering the energy fields around you and interacting with the fields of others. And you have no idea how far this effect might travel. And he continues saying, you have this magnificent brain and mind capable of creating wealth, happiness, health, and well-being in your own life and the lives of those around you. Your consciousness is powerful, much more powerful than you realize. And many of us are just using a tiny fraction of our ability, not even realizing that our minds can create matter. So this is why we're having this class. We want to harness that superpower we have in our brains to make a wonderful life for ourselves and those around us. Church says you're already turning thoughts into things. You're doing it every day unconsciously now, and it's time to do it symmetrically and deliberately. You might even say daily, I am the king of the world. Now let's outline what you want to do to create your future. Creating the 2 goals you want to achieve by July 4th, 2022. Because I'd like to use a holiday for deadlines of my goals, I can then surround myself and visualize myself at an event where we're all sharing information. And this is where I can announce that I achieved my 6 months goal. And I get to share what a great achievement this is and that this goal has moved my film forward. And I like to use holidays because it's so easy to visualize yourself on a holiday. So example, for July 4th, you might see yourselves outdoors having fun at a barbecue and celebrating and sharing that you've achieved your goals. And so at this point now, you have created 2 goals and you have a deadline to achieve them. You do not share your goals with anybody. They are yours. They're your personal goals. And you put all the power you have into manifesting them, but don't talk about them. One of the most important things is how to write your goals. And you do not want to say, I will achieve my goal, because that puts your idea in the future, and that just never comes. The secret is to write your goal in the present tense. You want to pretend that your goal is completed. You're making a statement in the now that it currently exists. This is what works. It's the fastest way to bring this goal into the 3rd dimension. You pretend it already exists. So here are some ideas on how to write your goal. Well, to find a distributor, you might say, I love my distributor. I found the right company They're selling my film and I'm making a large amount of income from this distributor. Now that's the mental side. The physical side is you would start asking filmmakers, who do you recommend as a distributor? Who have you used? Who have you heard is bad? Who's good? Do your due diligence to find the right person, but at the same time, keep saying, I love my distributor. I found the right company. They're selling my film. I'm making a lot of money. I am happy. Now, to find a cinematographer or a director, you say, I love my cinematographer. My cinematographer sees my vision. My cinematographer is creating hand-drawn pictures of scenes. Or you might say, I found the right director. My director sees my vision. My director is enhancing my vision for the film. My director is totally focused on making this an award-winning film. Now you want to make a to-do list of the things you need to do to achieve these goals. Be very specific because it may take 10 things to achieve this goal. So outline them based on what you need to do first, second, third, etc. And create a visualization of your sharing of the completion of your goal on July 4th, 2022. So make this into a little movie in your mind that you can play repeatedly. See yourself in your favorite summer outfit, surrounded by people who love you. You're in joy. You're having a wonderful time, and it's a special day for you. And you want to see this visualization when you're taking a walk, when you're driving, anytime you're washing dishes or cleaning the house. I call that Zen work. And you can just start playing this video in your mind. And that's how you start creating, because you are pretending that your goal already exists. You need to feel it, to see it, to know it, and make the goal a part of your daily life. And now you want to use your conscious mind to convince your subconscious mind that the goals you chose are already in your life, okay? Because you can only reach the subconscious through the conscious mind. The secret is to go to bed with your conscious mind focused on the life you will lead once your goal is achieved, and you send the completed thought that your goal has been achieved with the visualization that you've created to the subconscious as you go to sleep. And you want to see it and feel it that you've already achieved your goal, all right? It's good to realize that there are magnetic fields all around us that extend throughout the universe. This is the quantum field. So when you put a visualization into the quantum field, you are attracting all the things you need to achieve your goal. Sometimes you get things you didn't know you needed by doing this. It makes reaching your goal so much easier because the universe wants you to achieve your goal as much as you do. Now, I suggest you handwrite your goals on paper with your to-do list under them. I read mine every morning and every night. And I put mine on the bathroom mirror so I can focus on it daily. And if you want to expedite your goals and put yourself on the fast track to achieving them, you may want to meditate. A 20-minute a day meditation will give you clarity of mind, better focus, and information that you're looking for, and guidance, especially when you ask questions and are open to receive them. This meditation will balance you and make it easier for you to handle the daily stress of life, and it will increase your focus considerably. Now, Claire Papin and I created a meditation for you. It is on the front page of FromTheHeartProductions.com. Just scroll down and take that meditation, and that was created to take your goals into the meditation and see them completed. So here's another aid to achieve your goal. This is through total focus. Remember, there was a time when Microsoft leader Bill Gates and entrepreneur Warren Buffett were both asked to write one word that most described their success. Well, the shocking thing is they both wrote the same word. And that word is focus. And that's the underlying secret to achieving your goals. Focus, total focus. So I want to share one more idea with you, and that's about Rhonda Burns, who made The Secret years ago. Rhonda used The Secret to make the film, The Secret. She met with her film team weekly, and they visualized their future together. They visualized the film opening all over the world at the same time. But there was no such a thing as a way to upload a full 90-minute film when they created this goal. But as a group, they saw it happening to their film, and they kept visualizing this during the years of production. So when the rest of the world was shocked to realize that you could upload an entire film on the internet, Rhonda Byrne and her crew said, yes, this is what we've been waiting for. They were ready for this, and that's exactly what they used to screen their film all over the world on the same day. That's what group meditation and group focus can do. So let's go back to the book, Think and Grow Rich, which is a wonderful book by Napoleon Hill. And he said that after interviewing the richest men at the time, when he wrote this book, that they all had their own mastermind group. He talked to people like Henry Ford, Dale Carnegie, and Mr. Mellon. And all in all, he talked to over 100 wealthy men of the time. And he found that these men all had what he called the mastermind group. Most of these wealthy men said this meeting was the secret to their incredible success. The wealthy men had monthly meetings with a group of men that they chose for different reasons. Sometimes it was employees of theirs, and sometimes professional businessmen. Sometimes it was specialists in an area of knowledge. And Napoleon Hill says that when two people are gathered, the third one appears. The third is the psychic mind. It's the God voice. It's the connection to the universal spirit, which brings in incredible ideas. So this is what I want you to consider. You know, a film crew is the most creative group of people on the planet. So considering getting your film crew together once or twice a month, even if there are only two of you, because these meetings can be very successful for you. You can share your goals, and all of you can visualize the completed goal and work on the to-do lists on how to achieve your goals. So when you use this mastermind group concept, it brings in the third mind, which Napoleon says is the mastermind, the God force, the spirit, or you could call it the quantum field. Whatever you want to call it, you can believe that it will be there and it will give you brilliant ideas, totally outside of anything you may have ever thought of. So don't ever think you're alone in the filmmaking world. I know sometimes you may feel like you are alone, but you never are. You always have a support team on the other side. I don't know if it's angels or ancestors or spirit guides, but I know someone is there for you. And I believe that you know that someone is watching out for you. So call on them to help you. Call on them to bring in ideas and guidance, and most of all, self-confidence. Because the greatest asset you have for funding your film is your mind. It's the power of your mind that can make your life divine. Mind to matter, as Dawson Church says, create matter by using your mind. And the second greatest asset you have is confidence in yourself. Confidence that you can achieve your goal, finish your film, become an award-winning filmmaker, or a multiple award-winning filmmaker. These things must be on your goal list, and you want to feel like you're the most creative filmmaker in the world. And make sure that the angel of confidence is with you every day. So thank you for letting me share my ideas.
Okay, thank you, Carol, and thanks everyone for participating. Just a quick reminder, we have a recording of this whole presentation, and PowerPoint will be emailed to everyone that registered. So before I address the question, I believe Prima had a question. I want to announce the winners for the quotation. So the first winner is Amina Hughes, and then the second one is James Cotton, and third is Williams. I will be sending you information on the class you have won, and congratulations for winning. Unfortunately, no one got the answer for the Bruce Willis Die Hard film name. So we had the answers for Taxi Driver and the Titanic. So thank you for that. Now, for the question, Prima had a question, Carol.
Okay.
She's asking the difference between an option and a shopping contract.
Say that again.
Maybe we should have addressed this question. She's asking the questions, the difference between an option and a shopping contract. Prima, if you're there.
That's great. That's a great question, Prima. We need to talk about that on the phone, because I may have to check with Robert, my attorney.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
Okay.
I have to check with Robert on that. That is a very good question. Robert Siegel is the attorney that we use for From the Heart, and I use personally. He's a lovely man, so I'll find out from him.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, that's important.
Okay, so our next speaker is Breianne Pryse. She is a life strategist, a coach, energy work, and business consultant. Bree will share more information on goal settings and using your mind to create your future. So welcome, Breianne.
Thank you, Naheed. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful, thank you. If you could move to the first slide, please, I would appreciate it. Yes, so Carol, thank you very much for the information. And I'm going to repeat some of what Carol said, and I'm also going to add to some things. So first of all, about goals, what are they to you? You know, one of the things that I really got when I started working in energy is we have many different definitions. And, you know, there's the standard one in the dictionary, but what happens a lot of times is our definition gets redefined by our experiences and our thoughts. So just looking at goals, what are they? Some people think that they're disappointments. Some people think that they're just something more to do. So looking at what they are, some people call them targets. Some people call them dreams and hopes. So just really getting in, the first thing is, what are they to you? Because what I believe goals truly are is they are empowered intentions. They are the way that we use to communicate with the quantum field and the universe as to what we would like to create. So looking at them from that avenue, that may add a different bit of energy to them for you. So how would you like to communicate with the quantum field? What would you like to create? So getting in touch with the energy of goals in general. So allowing yourself to shed any old unmet goals, because most of us have an awful lot of old dreams and hopes that were not met. And sometimes that can get in the goal energy. So just allow yourself to let go of all of this. Allow yourself to just have a new relationship with your goals. And that way what you can do is you can invite in new energy. I had to really get back in touch with goals. When I was in corporate, I had a love-hate relationship with my goals. I had a lot of them because I was installing software and I was a data processing manager. And what they did is they represented things that I had to do. I loved checking them off, but the problem is there was an awful lot of stress attached to them. So what I noticed when I got into doing energy work and having my own business, I brought the stress of goals with me. And I had to refocus and redo and let go of all of this. And what that did is it just really showed me how we have to make sure we do our goals in our own way. Yes, we can follow structures and everything, but we really just have to make them work, because if they're stressing us out, that's not really going to help. Now, with that being said, though, there could be some really interesting energies attached to them, because when we move to new energies into new spaces, we have to pass through some discomfort. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Now, where are you with your goals? One of the things that I find happens is people will complain that they're not getting what they want. They're not creating what they want. Well, one of the biggest reasons for that is they don't ask. And Carole had touched on how we do goals and focus on our goals. You know, a lot of us go to the different classes, and in some of the classes I was taught that we ask them once, we set them up once, and then we just let them go. We never look at them again until they manifest. Well, that didn't really work well for me. And then there was the other about we have to be focused on them every day, and we have to almost get to the obsessive point where we're pulling them into this world by obsessing about them. Well, that didn't work either. And I love what Carole says about, you know, we create them and we visualize them and we visit them. Awesome. And that is kind of in the middle. Because what I find is in the middle between those two is awareness. And if we can be in that particular awareness, we can start creating what it is that we want. So if we're in that, we're visiting our goals, we're loving our goals, we're allowing ourselves to refine our goals, but we're also allowing the awarenesses to come in of different courses to take as far as actions go. And so that is really an important thing, because where awareness is where our allowance is too. And, you know, allowance is a big thing because we can ask, but in order to receive, we also have to allow. And allowance, I mean, we could do like a 3-hour class just on allowance alone. Because a lot of times what happens is we'll ask for something, but we don't allow ourselves to receive it. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but we see it all the time. And that can happen for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it can be resistance. And we have a lot of resistance usually to what we want. If it's not flowing, we've got some resistance, and that's just human natures. But a lot of times our allowance is because we think something is going to come a certain way, and we can only see it a certain way. And yes, absolutely do your visualizations, but allow that or something better, or allow it to come in a different way. So it's all about being open and asking for it in different ways. And I'm a real firm believer of that is like, let's say my film. Okay, I would like my film, you know, I see my film being done. So it's like, all right, allow and choose for my film to be completed by July the 4th, 2022. You know, I allow and choose for money to show up, you know. And I know I'm getting a little bit, this is kind of some of the fun goals that I'll talk about later, but it's all about you being in the energy of it and allowing it to happen in certain ways. And next slide, please, Naheed. So when you do your goals, to type or handwrite. Now, I have my calendar on my desktop and everything is typed, but you absolutely positively need to handwrite your goals too. And why is that? because that brings your particular energy, your particular chi into your goals. And what you want to do is you want to add you to your goals. And the more you can do that, the different ways you can do that, the better. Now, with handwriting, I love handwriting. In fact, I'm kind of the gel pen queen. I'm a firm believer in energy healing. And with that, color healing. Colors have a lot of different energies. And what I've noticed when I write using certain colors, that gives more energy to the goals. So allow yourself to handwrite them, please. You know, journals are your friend, and a lot of times people can be very resistant to them. But we live in a wonderful time where you can get on Amazon and you can see fabulous journals. You can see all different kinds. And there's all kinds. And so seeing what works for you. They've done studies, and online journals help you remember things more. I love the unlined color page journals from Amazon. I have several of those. I like dual purpose journals too, where one page is unlined, the next one is lined. So they're like, you can open them up and they're side by side. Those are fabulous. There are journals where you can get black paper and get white pens and write on it. And I love that because black is the color of absorption in the light language that I use. So using the white is connection and absorbing is negativity. So those are wonderful too. But find one, because probably most of you are visual and you need a pretty journal, something that makes you happy. So by all means, get something that makes you happy. Now, get rid of your resistance to journaling too. A lot of people say, you know, I really want to do it, but it just takes so much time. Oh, I really want to do it, but I just cannot make it work. Well, find a system that works for you. Now, letting go of your resistance to journaling is the first step in finding your system. And a lot of times the resistance, that can be rooted in childhood stuff, of where you had a teacher who told you you had nothing good to say, or that you didn't handwrite correctly, or that it doesn't matter what you say, all of that kind of stuff. So if you're having some resistance to journaling, just really spend like 30 minutes and dump out on a piece of paper all the negative things you heard in school. Do that. Allow yourself to flow it all out, and then let it go. Burn the paper, tear it up and flush it down the toilet, whatever you need to get rid of some of that. Because the resistance, if it's in with your journaling, that can be a resistance to self-care. So letting go of all of that resistance is good. Now also pay attention to things that say, oh, I'm a bad writer. I don't have anything important to say. Here's the thing with journaling. I give you permission that not everything that you write down has to be earth-shattering. Not everything has to rock your world. And a lot of times, the more you write down the small stuff and you get that out, then that brings in all of the good stuff, all of the big stuff, that you can now hear it because you've got a lot of the noise out of the way. So what do you journal? Well, there's anything and everything. Some people like to journal about their dreams. They remember their dreams. So they got a journal sitting in their nightstand, and first thing when they wake up, they'll write down. Some people like their wishes, their hopes. A lot of you could do your film journeys. You could have one special journal just for your film. That would be wonderful. You could write about your days in it. I didn't journal until I started doing energy work. And my first energy teacher told me something. And she said that everyone should journal every day. And the reason for that is you should be able to, write the whole year. And then at the end of the year, you look at your journal and you read it and you say, who is this person? I don't recognize this person. Because you're growing and changing so much you won't recognize you. And that has been wonderful for me. So finding a system that works for you, whatever that means, you can put something in your calendar that gets you to sit down for 15 minutes. You can do it first thing in the morning when you wake up. You can do it as you drink your coffee in the morning. But just find out something that works for you, because it's all about consistency and moving the energy. And that consistency will help you with your goals, because you giving the journal permission to help you with your goals, to move your goals forward and to move your life forward. Next slide, please, Naheed. All right, so goals. Carole touched on this, but I have two types of goals that I do and that I really believe in. And I spent last year doing these, and I tell you, I had a lot of quantum successes this last year, and I'm creating it again this year. So there's two types of goals, measurable and fun. And measurable are the ones that Carole had talked about. And I believe that we should have 5 types of those that we should have. Number 1 is your small goals. And these are the ones that you can check off easy to make practice. And that can be like, I meditate every day for a week. You know, those are really important because we need to see that we have progress, because we need to see that we are moving forward because we're human. Medium has a little bit more work. Large ones can have different parts, and they can actually have several medium goals on the large ones. But those are really good too. Now, the goals that I like too are the ones that are called beyond possible. And these are the types of goals that stretch your energy. A beyond possible goal would be, if you made $50,000 last year, it's like, I make and receive $55,000 in 2022. They're just a little bit beyond possible, because sometimes what happens is we use goals to sabotage ourselves, and we write such big impossible goals that our brain and our energy can't wrap around it, and we kind of just shut down. So if you have any big goals like that just kind of make you shut down, look at, okay, is this too big? Do I need to break this up? Do I need to add things before I do this? You know, start asking the energy. Now, and as far as the beyond possible ones, one of the reasons why we want to do this is just to tell the world that we have something beyond our project. One of my first energy teachers also said, you know, if you just have one goal, it's going to take you forever, because the universe loves you and it wants you to have something to do. So it will say forever because there's nothing beyond that. Versus if you have your goal and you have stretch ones and you keep moving, you'll be able to have the momentum because the universe will support that. And I think that that is very true. Now, the extraordinary, I just added this past week. And the extraordinary is something that just feels doable and good. Like one of my first extraordinary goals was, I would like to purchase equity in a chocolate company that I know. And when I get that, it feels good, it feels doable, it just makes me happy. So that's what I write. So the extraordinary ones, they're not way off the deep end, but it's just something that feels good that you could allow to work for several years on. And being in that energy, I think, will help you grow too. Now, the second type of goals, and I love these, are fun goals. And fun goals are basically anything and everything that sounds fun. And how I did it was last February, I was told to do fun goals. So I have my journal, and I have an unlined colored journal. And I was told that anything and everything that sounded fun needed to go in this journal with the I choose and allow statements, or I allow and choose. I use both of those. So basically, what I was writing down was anything that would come up without judging what it was. One of my ones that I got really quickly, actually, was I wanted to invest in a video game. I love investing in different things. And I wanted to invest in a video game. So like, I allow and choose to be a video game investor. Well, there were no video games that I could find that I liked that I wanted to invest in. And then I got to thinking about like, wait a minute, maybe you're thinking too small. You know what? I just don't want one video game. I want a fund of video games. So I allow and choose to invest in a video game fund. Well, I just wrote that. That was like in June. September, I open up my email. There is a video game fund I can invest in. So I do that. And I've had that over and over. It's like, just if it sounds fun without judging it in any way, shape, or form. And this does a lot of different things, and one of the biggest things that this does is it gets you out of the success/failure paradigm. Because with your measurable goals, you may be judging you about whether or not you create them, whether or not you should ask for them, whether or not that they come true. And judging yourself and the energy will stick your energy. Versus what this fun is this is fun. If it comes true, awesome. If it doesn't come true, awesome. But there's no harm, no foul, because there's also a lot of things in my book. Like I read that there was a Filipino fisherman who found a pearl that was worth $1 million. So if I allow and choose to own $1 million pearl. Do I have that one yet? No, but boy, do I love it. And boy, do I like looking at it. It's fun. And what that fun will do is it will just open up, I believe, for some of my measurable goals to have more fun and more energy for them. So next slide, please. So when you create your goals, energy is really important. And I think probably most people here are aware of energy and we know about energy. So here's things that when you go to create your goals, first of all, clean your energy. Flood yourself with whatever energy cleaning practices that you have. Spray rose water. Be in a good space before you start, because the energy on the planet has changed an awful lot, and we are very energetically sensitive. So if we're in a negative space when we're writing our goals, we're not giving them the energy that they would like. Now, you don't have to drive yourself crazy with this, but just kind of some basic energy practices. And when you start doing your goals, talk to the energy. It's like, looking at your film and your budget and whatever you have with your film, like, oh, what would be a great goal here? What would be a goal that would make me happy? And just kind of be in that playfulness and talking. And that can help get other goals that maybe you didn't notice before, and one of the great goals that I believe we should all have is surprise money. We should always be asking for surprise money, and that should definitely be part of your goals for your film. And the reason is filmmakers almost always need money. I've got 2 films that I invested in several years ago. They've got rough cuts, and they're both now looking for color correction money and music money and all this. So even though they got a lot of money a couple of years ago, they still need it. And that's awesome. So asking for surprise money should be part of it. Now, when you're making your goals, start asking, can I make this without expectations? And this is a little bit tricky because, yes, you give your goals every intention of coming true. But sometimes the expectations are a very hard energy. And sometimes the expectations are things like, well, if this doesn't come true, then I'm going to, that means that this energy thing doesn't work. If this doesn't come true, that means I'm not doing something right. Or, all of that stuff. Weem. Okay, thank you. So just allowing yourself to be able to look at without expectations and letting go of any goal expectations. And because you just want it to flow and you want to be in the flow of the universe and in your own flow, because you are the magic here. And the more you can let go of the unrealistic expectations or just any negativity, that brings your energy up. And as Carole talked about, feel into it. Does it feel good? Is there resistance? And when you start looking at this, this is where you can navigate the discomfort. Because when you're in a new energy, you're going to have some discomfort because that's just kind of the way it is. But if you can push that aside and just flow, better. And sometimes what comes up with the energy is resistance. And you're going to probably have some of that because that's kind of normal. You know, there's two different ways of looking at this. Most of the classes I took way back when said, well, if you're hitting up against these walls, that's the universe's way of saying you're not supposed to do it. I don't believe that that is true. What that can happen most of the time, it's resistance. It's like, okay, where's the resistance here? What am I not allowing myself to see? So if we just start asking questions like, you know, what can I do today to make this happen right away? What can I do that's new that can really benefit my film? Those questions can really break through the resistance and allow yourself to have a full sensory experience. As you write it, what does it look like, feel like, taste like, smell like? All of those. And Carole likes to talk about being, you know, on the stage at the Academy Awards. What great sensory experiences can you have there? Or what great experiences can you have at festivals? That would be a wonderful thing. And seeing your film at a festival, that's awesome. Next slide, please. So when you create goals, you know, we're talking today about filmmaking, but I believe that we kind of need to have some in many different categories, just because all of this will support your fabulous filmmaking journal. And especially in this time, we need self-care. And if there is one thing the last 2 years have taught us, we need to up our self-care. And what does that look like? That can be eating better. That can be sleeping more, getting massages, doing liquid minerals. You know, we just have to really practice self-care. And, you know, your goal can be, I choose to improve my self-care by at least 10% each month. That can be a good one, but you also have to say what you're going to do with that too. And if you don't know what that is right now, awesome, just put the general, but allow yourself to have it. Physical. Boy, do we need to improve our physical. And you will need to have really good physical energy when you're making your film, because it takes a lot from a filmmaker. So, you know, physical can be diet, exercise, stretching, eating right, drinking more water. Most of us need more water, and that can really help. Now, physical is very important. Now, I do not give medical advice, but please, if you go start improving your health and you're on a lot of medications, make sure that you talk to your doctor as you're changing and shifting, because you should never ever stop any meds without talking to your doctor first, because your body's become dependent. But what happens is, as your health improved, you may not need the dosages that you've been prescribed, so you might need to change those. So as you do the physical changes, make sure that you're working closely with your doctor. And as far as mental, oh boy, do we need mental care. One of the things that the pandemic, of course, has done is really shown how much we need to take better care. So, you know, mental, it can be basic things from getting out of your house, being able to do different things, allowing yourself not to have to be subjected to abuse or someone who's just too trying. Because, you know, most of us have family members that are pretty intense at times, but you allowing yourself to take care of that and not have to be subjective to it all the time is good. Drink more water because our brain gets the first dibs on water. I love periwinkle, and I would really suggest that if you really need some help with mental, do periwinkle. I get herbs and I make tea. Periwinkle is used in India to heal stroke victims. And what it does is it brings oxygen to the brain. And what it can do is help can change and shift some imbalances in the brain. Emotional, giving yourself permission to get your film done, giving yourself permission to be happy and healthy, and taking care of yourself emotionally is one of the biggest things that you can do. Now, sometimes what that means is limiting social media or limiting negativity. You know, it's just whatever you need to do. I had a client who really fought me about social media because she had to know what was going on. And she gave herself 2 weeks, no social media. And it was hard at first, but she says, oh my God, I feel so much mentally stronger and clearer. And I'm like, yes, that's wonderful. So just whatever you can do. And as far as emotional too, getting rid of anger programs, because we've kind of with social media gotten used that anger is normal, sadness is normal, fear is normal. And the more we can get rid of those, the better. So looking at, you know, maybe your goals is to letting go of more anger, whatever works for you. Spiritual, oh my God, spiritual, that can be meditating. That can be letting go of issues. That can be strengthening your relationship with the universe, shedding old religion constructs that don't work. You know, we talk about, you know, faith funds films, and it absolutely does. But faith is not a solid thing. Faith should be a dynamic thing. One of the things I heard very early on is if your faith is the same at age 20 as it is at age 40, you're doing something wrong. And, you know, that does not mean you got to give up any religious practices. What that just means is changing and shifting your faith in you and developing your faith in you. That is a good thing. You know, one of the happiest groups of Catholics that I know are the ones who have evolved their Catholicism. And they say, you know what? I love Catholicism. It is wonderful. It gives me a lot of joy. I love the rituals. However, I don't need to go between a priest and God. I am directly connected to God, and that's what I'm going to do. So it's all just about looking at your spiritual practices. The future. Oh, we definitely need future goals. And I'm a firm believer in putting future goals out there 5 or 10 years down the road. And it can be really big things that maybe you can't figure out. Like you got a great, nice, beautiful home. And maybe you have a bookcase full of awards from your film. Maybe you have several projects done. But looking at your future goals, I think, is really important. And the last one is money. We so need money goals. You know, in this day and age, people talk about greed. Oh, I just don't want to be seen as greedy. I don't want to be greedy. I just want enough. I just want barely enough. And that is one of the biggest disservices that we can do to ourselves. Because if we believe in greed, that means we also believe in lack. And neither one of those are really true. And the truth is, if you have more money, this world will be a better place. If you have more money, more films will be done. If you have more money, your causes will be supported. You will have self-care and you will get out of the stress of worrying about money. So that means you will have more creative potential. So really set some very big money goals. of that you create, that you love money, and that money works for you, and money does a great thing for you and your life and everybody that you love. Next slide, please. So, visit your goals. Visit them often. I would recommend probably every day, and I like Carole's idea about putting them up on a bathroom mirror because then you'll see them. Give them energy, give them love, support. Allow yourself to meditate on them at least a couple times a week and write down awarenesses. When I wake up in the morning, I always have a lot of awarenesses on my goals. Meditation is the same thing. If it's not moving, start talking to it. What am I resisting here? Show me what I can do today to make this happen right away. And sometimes it's just not moving because you're not moving. And if you're not exactly sure of what you need to move, just do something. You know, send out an email to someone, reach out, and try to connect that way. That might get the energy for the house party unstuck. Give yourself permission to change your goals, because one of the things we think we just do it once and oh my God, we can't change it. No, change it. I really like on mine, one of the things that I have is an Excel spreadsheet. And when I hit a goal, right below it, I got the next one. So if I say, you know, I want 12 clients this week. When I hit 12, it's like 15 clients this week. And then there's always different goals. So give yourself permission to change and expand. Now, also have response statements when the negativity starts coming up, or, oh, that's too much. Oh, you won't have that. Oh, you can't have that. You know, like, no, have your response statements. And it can be something that works for you. It's like when that comes up, say, oh, you know what? This is my goal. You are mine. The past is the past. This is my present. This is my future. I'm choosing to have this. Whatever response statements that you need for the negativity, so it goes away. The negativity is just there because it really wants to go away. So have your response statements. I always highlight my goals that are completed because that highlight really shows what I've done. And when I go back and I flip through my book, I can see everything I've done. Next slide, please. So, parting words. Just pay attention to your goals, because a lot of times what happens when you start asking for these big goals, it opens the door to other things, but we need to pay attention. And just because it doesn't look exactly like it does in your goal picture and your visualization, allow yourself to explore the other things too. And if you get ideas, awesome, write them down in your book, because as you open yourself to the future, big things can happen in the present that can create an even better future. And don't discount things. Sometimes what will happen is you'll be going through, you'll be doing really great things, and then all these weird memories will come up of old things you haven't thought about in a while, of when you had a big disappointment or when something didn't work the way that you wanted it to. Well, that's usually just things that need to go. So like, you know what? No, I'm done with you. I'm done with you. You're free to go. And you push them out to the ends of the universe. And don't discount the small things. One of the things that I had to get out of the habit of was when I would get invited to go speak somewhere, I would think, okay, that's a small group. Is that worth my time? And the truth is, yeah, it is, because I always got something big out of every speaking engagement. Now, it wasn't, maybe I didn't find that $1 million donor, or I didn't find a lifetime client, but I always found something that I needed. It could be somebody who needed healing, somebody to talk to, whatever it was. So just don't discount. And love your opportunities. And that kind of goes with the speaking engagements. Or if you get invited to go out with a friend and go to a lecture or something, it could be fun. And allow yourself just to get anything and everything out of it. And just know that there are more possibilities than you can possibly wrap your brain around. And the more you can do your fun goals that can expand to that, the more you can receive. But just always allow yourself to receive. Thank you, Carole.
Breianne, thank you. I really enjoyed that. I love the part about have more fun. I'm going to add that to my goal list. Have more fun and surprise money. I have seen that work. I'll ask for part of my goals is that my filmmakers get surprise money, and it never fails to happen. Big checks start coming in. I love it. And the best thing that you brought up, I think, for filmmakers to realize is resistance. We all have it. When you get ready to write a blog or write that next chapter or the important scene, you probably have a list of 10 things that you have to do before you can write that. When I started writing The Art of Film Funding, I couldn't write the book because my dining room set needed to be refurbished, needed to be repainted. And that was in my mind, but I couldn't write because I had that distraction. So I stripped everything, painted again, antiqued it, did the whole thing. Carol Joyce came over to see me. And I said, what do you think how does that look? And she said, looks just like it did before.
Yeah.
So possibly it didn't need anything, but this is so common with writers, with filmmakers, with artists, that we put everything ahead of our art. And it's important to recognize that's resistance. I don't have to wash the car today. I need to sit down and write. So Breianne and I and Naheed, we all thank you so much for joining us. And Naheed, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No questions from the audience right now, but I wanted to mention that we will send a recording and a copy of the PowerPoint presentation to everyone that registered. And thank you, everyone, for coming to participate in the class.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, one last thing I did want to say is March 15th through the 19th, we are having a candle event to open up luck. And basically what we're going to be working on is a lot of ancestral stuff to move a lot of that energy. So if you'd like more information, just visit thecandlemagician.com. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds great. Most important takeaway is make your dreams become your reality. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you back in the next class.
Thank you.